Welcome to Tigers Untapped, a Bluff City Media podcast. Stepping up to the microphones are your hosts, Trey Lasley and TJ Willis. Pull up your chair, grab your favorite brew, and enjoy the conversation. Now, let's get to the show.
What up? What it do? It's a trio tonight. Kenny's not just behind the scenes. He's joined us live from the Stubblefield 3000 studio.
Yes, I am here.
Fellas, episode 76. Timothy, Kenny, how was your Memorial Day?
Hold on. I think it actually, let me change this. It's actually 77.
It's 77.
I've ruined it.
Cut it and run it back.
Welcome
back. To episode 77, live in the hizzy.
Embarrassing.
Question still remains: how was Memorial Day for you fellers?
I got sunburnt, so outside
Did
of
you?
that, not bad.
In the backyard?
Shoulder. No, at our friend's pool. So, what about you guys? Do anything fun? We know Kenny drove for all of eternity.
Kenny went on one of what I would deem worst road trips of all time. 26 hours in the car for 48 hours of time, which ultimately probably ends up being more like 30 hours because you got to sleep, right? So,
well, and then I spent the majority of the time during that 48 hours driving. So
still in the car. Goodness gracious.
It was brutal.
Gross.
It was interesting. I'll say that.
We had a Timothy's familiar with this. We had a classic Lastly Lake weekend. It is that time of the season. Every weekend until football season starts, I will be gone. So that season.
This is not an exaggeration.
It is here to stay.
They are gone quite literally every weekend.
We will actually be here this coming weekend. We're going to Nate Bargatze at the FedEx Forum on Friday. Should be a good time. Timothy, what are we drinking this eve?
I don't know. It was going in and out. This is confusing, but this is a beer by Crosstown called Fool's Gold, which is like a mashup with Huey's. So shout out to Michael Brandon on Twitter. He's the one that told us about this. I did not
had no idea it existed until Michael tweeted it at us. And I'm going to tell you right after that first sip hit right. Nothing fools about this. This is all gold, Kenny.
It's going to be a spoiler here. That's going to be a good one. I think that's
you might like that. Can you get this at the restaurant?
Ooh, I would hope so, right?
I would hope so. That might be my go-to if they put it on that 2-for-1 happy hour deal.
Yeah,
might need to bring old Michael Brandon in as a paid what's the word beer connoisseur, not a connoisseur, but a beer advisor. He's one. Is he 1-for-1 at this point?
I mean,
we'll get to that later in the show, but things are looking good for Michael if he wants to apply for that position. Speaking of fool's gold, is it a little bit of fool's gold to think that David Jones would actually return to play basketball for the Memphis Tigers? Because at this point, I don't think he's ever coming back. What is it? We're a little off schedule here. We typically do this on Monday. It is now Tuesday, May 28th. David's got a little over 24 hours to pull out. And just like Lester, it's looking like a weak pullout game.
We did talk about his pullout game a couple of weeks ago, and it's
Dave, what is happening here?
TJ, I don't think he's coming out of it.
Well,
I don't know that he's going to be back in a Memphis uniform next season.
Here's the thing, and we talked about this before. The measurables are not great. He's good at what he does, but I don't know if what he does is good enough. But all it takes is one team to give him some type of promise, some type of hope that, hey, come here, be trained by professionals. Not that college coaches aren't professionals by any means, but come here and just solely focus on basketball.
Did you just
focus
say that
on dribbling the ball?
Professional?
No, I reiterated my statement. I said not that college coaches are not professionals, but he's going to solely focus on basketball.
I think there's a couple possibilities here. One, I think it's evident that David Jones, number one overall, just wants to be a professional basketball player. Like that's his goal.
Which, let's be honest, makes sense, right? Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Sure. I think there's a
It makes sense
business
to most of us, right?
decision there, right? That has to, there's a form, like he's got to make a calculated decision, and just being professional doesn't mean that that's the best business decision, right? Especially in the NIL era. If he's coming back to Memphis, he's guaranteed money. No,
Mm-hmm.
If he's staying, he's
the pro route is much more risky. Like if you're wanting the most guaranteed, I think coming back is that option. You're kind of gambling quite a bit to stay in the draft or try the professional route because nothing's guaranteed going that way. So if your business decision was to get the most money you can this coming year, guaranteed, I think it would be to go to college. Or for whatever reason, I don't think it's money motivated. He just wants to be a professional basketball player and start. Some of that may be because it's a weak draft and he thinks he can. I don't think he's going to get drafted, but maybe he can play his way into some kind of contract. But do you think him not having, again, here we are barely over 24 hours before he has to withdraw. He has not withdrawn. So I think it's one of two things. Do you think he's hearing positive feedback that has kept him from withdrawing to this point? Or do you think it's more of he is literally waiting until the last second with all hope that he will hear what he wants to hear or get some sort of promise from a team? So he's saying, hey, I haven't heard what I want to yet, but I'm staying in it until the last possible second, and maybe somebody will call.
I have a theory on this. Can I express my theory real quick?
Yeah.
You see a lot of players that are not getting the promises that they or the theories of not theories, the promises, the words that they want to get from these different franchises in the NBA saying, hey, we'll sign you as a two-way, we'll do this, we'll give you a guaranteed G League contract. And you see a lot of these guys coming back and immediately entering into the portal. And so what you're seeing is, oh, wow, there's a lot of these new guys in the portal, right? Like a lot of these guys that have been in the draft process and the combine doing whatever they've been doing. I think David's a different story because he's not in the portal. He's already, it's either Memphis or the NBA. And sure. I think he knows exactly what he needs, like what he's going to get. If he removes himself from the portal, he's got a spot at Memphis with guaranteed NIL money. He doesn't have to make a choice. He doesn't have to fight for a roster spot on all these other rosters, all these college rosters that are saying like, man, hey, there's this guy that came out. Now we got to choose between David Jones and this guy. Penny has made it clear. You're our guy. If you get out of the draft, if you come back, you got a spot with us. Here's the NIL money. It's guaranteed. And so I think
why not wait till the last?
Why not wait until the last minute? He's not fighting for a roster spot because I bet what you're going to hear is you're going to hear a lot of these guys coming out and they're going, okay, man, like I know that the places where I can make money, the places where the NIL money is good, I'm guaranteed this. A lot of these guys are going to be fighting for those spots, and there's a limited amount of spots available. And so I think honestly, David is just like, I don't need to worry about that. So why not wait? Why not go do my workouts? Why not go get my face and my name and my energy?
Every ounce of feedback possible.
Every ounce of feedback.
If you pull out of say he had pulled out last week,
right?
Would he have been able to re-enter before tomorrow and then pull out again?
Once it's over,
you only get one pull out. There's no re-entry, and then you can't pull out more than once and then go back in.
TJ, talk to this guy. But no, but that's my theory on it, is that I think he's not fighting for roster spots in college basketball the way that a lot of these guys who are coming out are. He's got his spot. He knows where he's going to go. And so I tend to think there are some things that make me tend to think that he might not come back. Honestly, I think the fact that, let me ask you guys this. The fact that he's still doing workouts the day of the withdrawal date, does that give you pause? Like, why is he still doing this?
No, because I feel like I understand he's doing it because that's ultimately at the end of the day, that is what he wants, right? Like he wants to play professional basketball. I think he's going to exhaust every single option possible to make that happen. And then at the end of the day, if it's not a possibility, then he has Memphis to fall back on.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, right? He could always fall back on Memphis. It's always take the chance, get drafted. And then obviously no one's talked about it because it kind of seems pretty cut and dry in terms of what his options are. But he's good enough where he can get paid overseas by I mean, I don't know what the salary difference is there for, what he can get at Memphis from an NIL perspective versus what he would make overseas in, let's say, Greece or, somewhere like that, just making up a country at the time. But
I think it's a good point. I think it's a great point.
You can make good money over there, and that's a good backup plan, and you don't have to worry a damn bit about going to class.
I agree.
Has he graduated? I mean, what would he be taking anyway?
I mean, he'd be in a master's program, right?
Yeah.
So
today on Jeffrey and Giannotto, Munz was on. He ultimately said 50-50 that he comes back, but at one point he suggested it may even be 60-40 that he does not come back. I think Penny himself has put it at 70-30 and has been pretty consistent there. What do both of y'all feel like it's at? Like, what would you put a percentage return of we hear in the next 24 hours that David is actually returning?
Kenny, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I would have put it at I would have put it at a much higher percentage. And again, Munz might be talking to people within David's camp. He might be talking to, so I don't know his sources on why he's able to make that, percentage leap. But in terms of just the optics of what happened, it was 70-30 before the combine, right? Like 70-30, he'd come back before the combine performance. And I think we need to be frank about the combine performance. He did not raise his stock by any stretch of the imagination in the combine. And so, and that's not a disrespectful thing towards David. Like, everybody has bad days. Everybody has, underperforms on certain days. But I would have put definitely coming back like high percentage, 80-20, 90-10 if after the combine, but
yeah, mine would have increased as well after that. But then there's he's obviously been having workouts with teams, and so maybe things have shifted more positively for him in some of those closed door workouts.
100%. When do most draft, are they mostly judged off of their pro days, off of their workouts that they do, or the combine stuff in NFL?
I think it depends, right? Like, are you just talking about a guy throwing a football? Like, are you talking about agility? Are you talking speed? I guess it kind of depends on what the drill is specifically, but I think less about pro day, because that's when you're in your comfort, right? Because you're at your pro day, you're with your guy who's throwing you the ball. If you're the receiver, if you're the quarterback, you have this timing with these receivers, so you're in your element, right? So those are a little skewed in terms of what you're going to be.
They're scripted for you, right?
Yeah, it's very, very scripted.
I mean, especially at a quarterback, like, and you're practicing that leading up to it. You're making these 10 throws, and then whatever it may be. I agree with TJ. I think the combine is much more heavily weighted than. That's not to. I mean, again, it's going to be position specific, right? Yeah. So,
I would suspect in the NBA it's different. I would think that
I do too.
Like,
I don't think the combine in the NBA is as big of a deal as it is in the NFL at all.
I also don't think that the measurables are as big of a deal in the NBA combines as they are in the NFL combines. You've seen guys drop like rounds in NFL draft based off of their combine numbers, right? Their strength, their speed, their agilities, things like that. I think honestly, I think Blake Watson's performance at the combine outside of his 40 hurt him. Right? Like, I think that's why he didn't get drafted, because he didn't do very well in a lot of the other things because once he got that 40, I think he was like, I'm out,
Yeah.
I think it just kind of depends, right? I mean, David coming back measuring 6'2" and not measuring 6'6" is a big difference, right? I think
6'3.5. 6'3.5. Let's not go 6'2". 6'3.5.
Whatever. He was listed at 6'6", and he came back, I would say, dramatically shorter, right? 5'9".
TJ taking another 1.5 inches off.
Yeah, bro. Don't take the 1.5 inches away from the man. He was 6'3.5" without shoes on.
Whatever, guys. First of all, it can go the other way, very, very much so. So if he actually had measured 6'6", I think it's a completely different conversation, and I would put his percentage chance of returning very low, right? 20% chance that he returns. The fact that he did come back at 6'3.5", whatever you want to call him, I think that does put him in a weird predicament in terms of what he will be, what he projects as in the NBA. And I will say he is not a Memphis Tiger next season. I'll make that projection.
Wow.
And you can take that for what you want. Like if you think he is going to go to the NBA, maybe. But I think there's a better chance that there could be an international route here, just due to the fact that you don't have to deal with the bullshit of being a college athlete, right? You're a moneymaker, you're a businessman, you're playing basketball. I do think the international route could be something we're not considering that could work its way in.
Don't you think we would have heard about that already, though?
Well, sure. Yeah, I mean, yes, but
I mean,
what if he goes?
I would say
the
not
NBA
necessarily,
route and he's not drafted.
Yeah,
You know?
I would just say we
There's-
hadn't heard about it because his focus is trying to make the league, and that knowing an overseas deal can be made at any point in time during the summer,
Sure.
right? I don't think he's going to have a lack of options if he's not able to find some sort of NBA contract or G League. So that's the only reason I would say we hadn't heard about it. I'm leaning as we sit here with TJ that he will not be back. Hence our ticker down there at the bottom is never coming back. Like he left Memphis and he may never return. Speaking of which,
I'm leaning towards him being back. I'll leave it at that.
you are.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we will see. If you were watching Wednesday,
Wow.
we will know by 10:59 Central tonight whether or not David, maybe if he's coming back, maybe he
Really?
announces
Told us he's
before
coming
this. Yeah. This may
Watch
all
him.
be
Watch him drop
17
his.
minutes. Maybe
He's going to drop his
worthless.
announcement. He's going to drop his
Right.
announcement at like 2:59 Central.
right before
Central
Tigers
Standard.
Untapped.
Right before the show premieres. Yeah.
Well, let me clear something up. I don't think he's coming back, but if he does, I'm excited. I want him back. Let me clear that up.
yeah.
I want him back. Just
Yeah.
make sure there's no misunderstanding there. I want David Jones back. I just don't think it's going to happen, personally.
So David Jones may not be here, but fellas, the rest of the roster is here as
Everybody's
of date.
here.
And workouts they don't start until what? Saturday the 1st.
Saturday the 1st.
So
They're
not
here.
only are they here, they are early.
I love it. So
Which is-
freaking
is that not a huge-
everybody's here.
Right. All 9 of them. Is that not a huge win
No, 100%.
compared to
We
where
were
we've
talking-
been the last several years adding guys? I mean, last year, David Jones wasn't here until like Labor Day.
Yeah, I would say we were September-ish last year having this conversation of like when we're going to have the whole roster in. Like, at what point in time did what's the big guy, Jordan Brown, the sloth? What time did he get there?
I think he
was
joined
that?
us in the Dominican, didn't he? Didn't he show up like
That's
right
his
before that
first.
trip?
The Dominican trip was the first time we had seen him. Yep.
Exactly.
And I
What
think
are we
he
talking
only
about?
showed up for that because we were going to an all-inclusive, and he knew
Well-
he was going to be able to like
Exactly.
relax by the beach. He might have to play a basketball
Eat.
game or two, but
Belgian
Eat.
waffles galore.
everything included. He wouldn't have to work out. Like,
Sausage links.
I mean, who
It doesn't
wouldn't
sound like
take
that bad.
a free all-inclusive trip?
Free soft serve ice cream.
All you can
Sheesh.
eat. Dude, we went to Dominican on our honeymoon. Every night we got a pizza because it's free. It's all free.
It's all
In
inclusive.
the same spot every night.
Well, let's not
Soft serve ice cream and
forget
pizza.
the Tigers plane had to make a detour to go pick up Jalen Young at the airport and bring him. Like, I mean, we're talking about like a substantial amount of players didn't show up until the date. Like they
Can
were
you
there.
imagine that? Literally put yourself in Jalen. The first time you're meeting these dudes is hopping on a plane to fly to the Dominican.
Kind of
wild.
Is that not like awkward?
Yeah.
You just
I
like
think it's
walk
awkward,
on.
yeah.
Hey guys,
Hey
head
guys,
down to the Dominican. I'm
who's
here.
my roommate? Who's my roommate? Who am I sleeping with in the hotel? Like, what's going on here?
That's weird. I mean, I've been on some bachelor parties where it's like 2 splits of friends. You got like high school and then college friends, and that's awkward enough, even though you got a couple guys there. I can't imagine going on a trip with a bunch of dudes that I've never met in my entire life.
Dude, 100%. That's got to be the weirdest thing in the
Out of the
world.
country too.
Yeah. I have a question
And
for
then
you about that.
And then everybody gets boo-boo bottom while they're down there. Like, who do you lean on for support while you're?
Let me ask you a question. About hotel trips. All right. Whether it be with your family or whether it be with friends. Do you guys have a rule in place? Like, are you allowed to take number twos in the hotel in your room's bathroom, or do you have to go downstairs?
If TJ or I are in the same room, no, he cannot deuce anywhere in our room.
Okay. You make him go down to the lobby and deuce down there. It's like
it depends on how many people. Bathroom. If we have other friends that have another room, then he'll go in their room to do it. That's a TJ move.
Tracy has a hard and fast rule with our family. We don't deuce in the hotel bathroom. We deuce in the lobby bathroom.
Dude, here's the problem with that.
That's a bad rule. I mean, I think it also depends. Like, how far are you from the lobby?
Exactly. Here's the problem with being the guy that's typically sent to the lobby is that's where like the hobos are going. They're walking in there ultimately using those toilets. Like there's no respect in those bathrooms. People are eating on the seats.
TJ doesn't even need to be allowed to go to the lobby. He needs to go to the building over, preferably across the street if there's like a 7-Eleven or something.
There's so much disrespect here.
I mean, you do it. It's you. This is you. What you do in the bathrooms is disrespectful, TJ, to be quite frank with you. One time we were at the Malco Paradiso watching Thor, and they canceled the rest of the movie because TJ farted, and the reel stopped. It broke the reel. And then he tried to blame it on some poor innocent girl that was sitting next to him.
Set the fire alarms off, set the sprinklers off. Yeah.
TJ also has a class. If you're with TJ and he ever starts randomly giggling, you need to get out of his vicinity as quickly as possible.
None of this is true.
But that's the beauty of the Tigers roster being on campus so early is that now they will have been around each other long enough that
they're gonna freaking love each other.
They're gonna love each other.
But I think that's a huge one. He said he wanted to do it by June. Here we are, May 28th. They're all here. They're here early. Every single one of them. I mean, obviously you have a couple of spots you have to fill in, but I think that's a huge win.
I think we here at BCM owe Penny an apology because we kind of roundly made fun of him for saying
he was going to do it.
Because he said in the Carnival stop of that the Tiger Trails event they've been doing, the first stop, he said to Dave Willocean, he said, I'm going to have everybody here by June 1st. And we were like, what? Like, no way. And he's done it, man.
Well, so, that was only a couple of weeks ago.
Kudos to Penny Hardaway.
Yeah, I mean, give it up. Job well done. The roster here, but we do have a staff member no longer here. Borman is heading on out, using that new terminal at the Memphis airport to get on out of here.
Dang, dude.
What?
That's savage.
Are you going to miss Andy?
No.
I'm going to just be honest. Andy didn't bring anything for me. Who was it what recruit was it he was connected to we were supposed to be getting?
Tyler.
No, the big name, Nas or something.
Nas Cunningham?
Yes, Cunningham.
Well, Tyler was his guy.
Well, he had and he's in the portal, isn't he?
Yep. He may have landed.
I didn't realize Nas ended up at Alabama.
Ooh, I'm not a fan of that.
You're not a fan of it?
I don't want Alabama to be good.
Oh, well, I got a problem with that because they're going to be good. Good coach.
Timothy, you're going to miss Andy?
No, it's whatever. Like, it's kind of twofold, right? Because you and I have talked about this before, and Kenny's agreed with this throughout the years. And, you want consistency, right? You want the players, you want returning players, you want returning coaches. It just helps build a better cohesive unit as a team. However, I think there is an argument to be made that sometimes it's okay to let some of these coaches go, right? And I'm not sure that there's given proof of this, but if your options are to choose between Rick Stansbury leaving and going somewhere else, or you clearing house and getting better assistants around him, then like get the out everybody else. Like,
Oh, I don't think
and that's got to be
wrong.
tough. That's got to be tough, dude. Because Penny just surrounds himself with his friends, right? I mean, I think that's a fair statement, more or less, right? I mean, every year we've had someone that he's close with added to the staff in some facet. Some
Yeah.
have chose to move on, whatever it may be. I think this is fair, and it's not a bad thing, right? I think it actually shows that Penny's willing to make that extra move to kind of just say, "Hey, man, you can't be here. Like we got to move on. We got to do something different here because it's just not working out." And if that's to better the team, then perfect.
Yeah. I also, this one feels different. I feel like this one was more of a Penny decision, whereas a lot of the previous ones have been the decision of the assistant to get out. Maybe it was more
I'm down.
mutual, but this one seems like it's more Penny making changes rather than somebody going and trying to find a different opportunity.
Yeah.
Which kind of comes back to like, there's been quite a bit of staff turnover. This has been a constant for Penny since day one.
Mm-hmm.
So like, is there a larger issue, or do you think he's figuring? Obviously, he's been able to retain Rick. Cody Topper was here for a while, but like looking back to day one, since his first year, he's had Sam Mitchell leave, Mike Miller, Tony Madlock, Cody, Larry Brown, Rasheed Wallace, Jermaine Johnson, Andy Borman, Frank Haith. Which can you count Frank? He took kind of a job, right? So like I don't know
Can't
that
count
one really
that.
counts. But the rest of those, they didn't necessarily leave for better opportunities.
Well,
It's just kind of like turnover.
I think you could argue. I think you could argue Topper going to LSU is a better opportunity per se. I mean, that's more money.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back and look at it, some of them have taken other jobs, like Mike Miller leaving and then going to be a high school basketball coach. Kind of seems like it's a demote, like it's stepping down in a way. But he was also coaching his son,
But he was also building
more.
He's also building his agency, right?
His agency, which is it's much bigger than coaching. If that's what you're going with,
staying in basketball, but changing career paths, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I think there's turnover all over the place, but I think it's a good sign that he was able to retain Rick, and now he's making some, I think, needed adjustments. Because again, I'm not sure what Borman was bringing.
I don't get all up in arms about staff turnover the way that a lot of fans do. Like I think a lot of fans are like, I think a lot of folks like look at that situation as like what's been the issue, and it's like, well, you've got roster turnover and staff turnover, but honestly, man, like in this situation, I think with Penny Hardaway's consistency, the rest of the guys just outside of, like, I'll say this, I think outside of Rick, the rest of these guys just haven't really mattered as much as you would assume assistant coaches would, right? Like, I just don't think it matters that much. I think Penny has seen the value of a Rick Stansberry and what Rick Stansberry brings to the table in terms of not just on floor coaching, but also, behind the scenes in the NIL world and things like that. I think he's just a different kind of guy. He's a different kind of an assistant coach. So I just think I just don't get up in arms about it, especially, and I mean this with all due respect, especially hearing the name Andy Borman. Like, I'm like, okay,
I think initially there was a lot of excitement around Andy because of his connection with Coach K, his grassroots connections. There was a lot of hope of, hey, he's going to be able to bring in some elite guys, Nas Cunningham, naming Tyler, and then that just never really manifested. And from a basketball standpoint, bench coach, he doesn't excite.
He didn't move the needle.
He didn't bring any. Yeah. So this is by no means any sort of crushing move, I think, at all. I think we'll be just fine.
Yep.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little football. We've had a couple of more portal additions. We're cranking up the portal in football. A little college football 25 action, and then some TFT. TJ's hot on that. He's got some rumors, conference realignment.
Oh my God, this is crazy. These conference realignment. I love these talks. You guys are still leading the race in terms of the conference realignment talk, man. You guys are on top of it all.
That's all, TJ.
A bold statement. I don't know.
TJ needs a breather before we put him on the pedestal to talk.
Hey, get some water, do some, stretch your back a little bit, do something on this breaks. So, because you got to get ready for this.
We'll be back.
We've been applauding this. Going to continue to applaud what Ryan Silverfield and the staff are doing in the transfer portal. They added a huge addition in former Tennessee linebacker Elijah Herring. When you pair him with Chandler Martin, like you look at this linebacking core, those two guys and Elijah Herring and Chandler Martin, I think you have two guys that are not even really arguably in the top 5 for best defensive players in the conference. It just in your linebacking core.
You have the best linebacking core in the conference by a pretty landslide amount.
Or none.
So this influx of money, the positive momentum under this program with Ryan, this is working in the correct direction.
They don't put together a recruiting class like this or a transfer portal class like this any other year, and they're continuing to make these additions in real time. And I think they're top 50 or top 45 right now.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
The Grizzlies, number nine in the NBA draft. They're picking 9th, 39th, and 57. Who they getting with those three? Go.
A veteran from around the league.
Okay.
I mean, I don't. If there's something that they could do with that 9th pick that gets them someone that's already proven, then yeah, because I don't even know who would be thought of as being the 9th best player that's coming out at this point. I have no idea who that person would be, but I know this team, in terms of for moving forward, you think in terms of winning a championship, still young enough, and you still want some pieces that are able to help you win right now, not just continue to amass for the future. For the future is right now for this team.
Tune in to the Night Court podcast with your hosts, Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
We lost Kenny. What happened?
Kenneth, where are you?
Timothy.
Billy Kenny.
Ryan and staff have been active, hitting up the portal. I think, what was it last week? 2 weeks ago, we already said we had the 9th biggest, I guess, transfer portal class in this cycle. And they're only continuing to add. We added, you made the joke of not necessarily minor additions, but literally minor. The minor brothers have been added. That is Daryl Minor Jr., linebacker, JUCO product. But the bigger of the minor, not so minor additions is Kobe Minor, the DB from Indiana. All Big Ten, all honorable mention DB, coming in to help that secondary that's been struggling the last couple of years there. Huge addition, I would say, with Kobe being added. I don't know how much Daryl's going to get play with kind of the linebacker additions we've already taken in. I don't know if Daryl was like a favor to get Kobe to commit, but I'm excited about Kobe, TJ, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm excited about both, honestly, because the linebacker spot is kind of taking a hit. Obviously, with Javonte Mackey going down, you brought in a lot of new names, so it's really a free game to anyone who's not Chandler Martin and linebacking core, essentially. So Chandler's going to seal down his spot. You're going to have two other linebacker spot, and you have like 9 guys battling.
You don't think Elijah's locked down a spot?
How long has he been here?
Leading tackler on an SEC ball club? You don't think he's fine. He's starting?
He's going to have to come in and prove it, right?
There you go.
Isn't that how this works?
You battle it out every single day.
Exactly. It's the same thing they talk about all the time is how everything is an interview and things like that. So Martin is there. So he is practicing. It's just, again, there are so many different guys. Everyone has been successful in some facet, right? There's a linebacker from Harvard who's been great. Flaker was great at, I think, NC Central. Daryl Minor was good. And the JUCO level, I think he didn't really do much at Indiana. Then they brought in another linebacker whose name is skipping me, the guy from Houston Baptist. So, I mean, there's so many linebackers, right? And there's two spots. They're all kind of battling it out. I think logically, yes, Elijah Herring probably going to lock down one of those spots. My guess is middle linebacker. You will have Chandler Martin as the other outside linebacker. And then it's really just kind of down to one spot, probably truly at the end of the day. Worst case scenario, Daryl Minor, that's good depth you could have there. I think he is a 5th-year guy. So that is someone who's played a lot of football, a lot of collegiate snaps, being at various levels. So it's a safe bet, right? People are really hyped up on the Kobe Minor thing, and I think that's probably because he was being recruited by Alabama. He played decent snaps at Indiana, which is like, hey, it's the Big Ten, right? They're pretty damn good at football. And you look at the numbers. I mean, in 11 games, he had 29 tackles. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that information, right? Not to downgrade it, but I do think we should probably pump our brakes here in terms of expectations. If you ask me today, I would not lock down Kobe Minor as a starter today. I mean, I guess it's kind of the same way I just said that with Elijah Herring as well, but I don't know. We'll see. He completely is talented enough. If you can start at Indiana, you probably can start at Memphis. So,
Okay. His season high in tackles was 6. Do you know who was against?
it's going to be Michigan.
Ohio State.
Ohio State,
Close.
yeah. It's going to be
Close.
one of the powerhouses, right?
Close. That's not bad. You get 6 tackles against Ohio State, you can get 15 against Rice.
If your DB's getting 15
I know.
tackles, I got a problem. We got other things we need to worry about.
I know. I take it back. Timothy, I will do it every episode as we can. College Football 25. We're figuring out a way to mention it every single time. Did you see they released tiers? They're going to pay colleges based on AP poll finishes from the past 10 years. 4 tiers. It's a 4-tier system. I'll be very intrigued to figure out or to learn how they came about these payment numbers. But tier 1 is 13 ball clubs. They're getting $99,875.16. Tier 2, $59,925.09. Tier 3, $39,950.06. And then tier 4, bottom of the barrel, $9,987.52. I would ask you if you knew what tier we are, but I know that you already know.
I do know. Yeah, I do know.
All this, and I hadn't seen the teams in the tiers. I'll be honest with you. I was expecting us to be like tier 3. We are a tier 2 ball club, TJ, which ultimately, if you ask me, means that we are a Power 5 ball club because we are ranked ahead of 24 Power 5 teams in this tier ranking system.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would have definitely said tier 3. Tier 2 seems kind of crazy, but I guess if you're looking at it from a 10-year span, there was a
10-year of
definite
AP
period
poll
of time.
finishes, which I think, what do we have 2 top 25 finishes? Maybe it's 3. I'd have to go look at where.
I would
Obviously,
say probably
2019.
3.
I think 2000. What year was the Miami
One of
Beach
the-
Bowl 2014?
the
So that's 10 years
Fuente-
ago. So we
Yeah,
finished
I was gonna
25th
say
that
14 or
year.
15. Yeah.
It's at least 2. Nonetheless, we're getting almost $60K from EA. It's a tier 2 institution, which should put us, quite frankly, it's just more supporting evidence that we're a Power 5 university, which, Timothy, brings us to a little bit of conference realignment.
It
What
does.
the heck is going on?
It's a great question, man. It's it's an ever-changing landscape, right? All these different conferences want to get their hands in different pots, right? You have the Big Ten is already in 4 time zones. The ACC's, kind of on the brink of, some people would say, self-destructing. I would argue against that, but they do have the chance that Florida State, perhaps Clemson, are going to leave. How can they fix that? How can they save themselves? They got weird and went out and added Cal and Stanford. Who else did they add? SMU, right? So now the new thing, and honestly, I kind of sat on the information when I originally heard it because it sounded so crazy and so far-fetched that, Utah, who will be a Big 12 member as of like August this year, is considering a jump to the ACC. And you're like, what the hell? Like, you guys have made it. Like, what are you doing? Why would you move? I know, make it make sense. Like, you're out there, right? You have BYU and Utah already. Texas, not that far. Arizona, not that far. Why would you travel all the way to the East Coast, fly all the way to the East Coast to play football, to play any sporting event? And the answer is clearly money, right? I do think the Big 12 technically pays out more today, but I don't know that is going to continually grow, right? So I think if the Big 12's pot is what it is until it's renegotiated, and at that point, then obviously it could be expanded upon. But if you were to add to the Big 12 today, your number is probably a little bit less than what the ACC's pot would be. So there is some financial change and benefit there, but also adding, let's see, Cal and Stanford puts them in the West. Yes. So they're in all 4 time zone if Utah goes to ACC, because Utah is going to be the Mountain West, or the Mountain Daylight. SMU is Central, and then Cal Stanford's Pacific. And obviously they're on the Eastern Coast there. So it makes sense for ACC.
TJ, I don't know where your information was coming from. Dick Weiss at Hoops Weiss on the X, who is a contributor for the New York Daily News. This tweet came out, blew up, got over 1 million views on X. Speculation is circulating about potential shifts in college sports conferences. There is discussion about Utah possibly moving to the ACC despite its recent move to the Big 12, with some suggesting the ACC might be a better fit due to its ESPN network agreement and potential for increased TV revenue. However, skepticism exists regarding the stability and attractiveness of the ACC compared to the Big 12. So exactly what you're talking about, TJ. It sounds like the ACC's deal, the ceiling is higher for added revenue there, whereas it sounds like the Big 12 is kind of locked in at what they're going to make. And that's what's enticing Utah. The question just remains what you mentioned is Clemson, Florida State. What is the ACC going to look like if this contractual agreement's blown up?
Yeah, and it's super interesting.
No more.
Well, that's the thing. For the grant of rights to go away, you have to have, I think it's a majority of the conference to agree to that. And let's think of it from the grand scheme of things. We'll say Florida State, Clemson, they could probably get somewhere. I've heard people talk about NC State left and right due to academics, due to the fact that they are a moderately successful football, basketball program type of situation, that combo. Let's assume that those 3 go somewhere. Who's the 4th? It's some form of NC State or North Carolina and Duke. Can you see those 2 ever breaking apart? Maybe it's Virginia or Virginia Tech, whatever. You get to a point where it just doesn't make sense for these teams to leave the ACC because they're going to potentially lose money. They have nowhere to go. Who's going to take them? Like who? The Big Ten or the SEC? The only conferences are going to give them more money. Who's taking them? Where are they going to go? You're going to get to this point where the SEC is like, hey, we got a lot going on, or the SEC, we've got a lot going on. Like, it doesn't make sense for us to take in Virginia Tech right now. And it's going to put everybody in a hard place. And I just can't see the majority of the teams wanting to break the grant of rights. This truly only benefits the Clemsons, the Florida States, some combination of Virginia, NC State, and Virginia Tech. And there's not 7 spots to go around, essentially. So, I'll tell you one person or one team that benefits from all of this, and that's the Memphis Tigers. Because if Utah leaves the Big 12, They're gonna have
Spots
an
are
open
open.
spot.
Spots are open.
And
And Timothy, that's what I was going to ask you. When NCAA football 25 comes out and they have conference realignment as an option in gameplay, what conference are you immediately putting Memphis in?
Trey likes to get on to me about this because I've said it for a while now. I'm
He's the
tired
biggest
of being the Big 12's
ACC
booty
homer
call.
in the world.
No, I'm tired of being the Big 12's booty call. They always like to just dangle the carrot in front of us and we come out crawling after it. And then they're like, they just pull back every time. I'm tired of it, dude. I'm tired of it. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to go to the ACC. I think it makes sense anyhow. I think you would partner us with Tulane. You'd partner, and we go back with SMU. I could see Southern Florida. I could see them, South Florida, excuse me. I could see them going. I don't know where Southern Florida came from, dude.
The Southern Florida fighting Southern
50,
Floridians.
50% beer here. No, South Florida. I could see us keeping that paired up, moving to the ACC. I'm assuming it's going to be turning into this race of 20 teams. Who's the Big 12 going to add, right? Any type of change they have, it's the same teams. It's San Diego State, it's Memphis, it's Boise State. Utah State could kind of be the wild card in there if you're really trying to just package something in the Mountain Daylight Time.
TJ throwing Utah State around.
Yeah, I'm naming a random team that's in the Utah area, right? They're absolute dog water. See the bowl game 2 years ago when we smoked them.
Well, regardless, TJ, based on the vote that occurred, we need to be in a Power 5 conference no matter what, because it has been officially ruled that universities may pay upwards of $20 million a year to their athletes. And we're just not going to be able to do that. So we need to get a Power 5 conference so that we have that revenue to be able to share amongst athletes.
Yeah, and I think another
Jeff
thing
has got people scared out of their freaking britches. We're going to be the minor league, the death of Memphis athletics with this, TJ.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a wild
Take?
thing to read. Yeah, I don't know, but
We'll
Memphis is in a place now where if the Big 12 expands, if the ACC expands, it's a race to grab teams like a Memphis, like a Boise, like a UConn even, right? They're in a good place. They're clearly in the top grouping of teams. I just want to stop being in the top grouping of teams, and I want to be one of the teams. I want to be the
team. Let me ask you this. We've heard rumblings, rumors that we're kind of playing both sides. We're talking to the ACC. We're still flirting with the Big 12. Do you think that in any way puts us at a disadvantage where we end up getting left out again because we're not necessarily committing to one or the other? We're kind of trying to play both of them, thinking that we're leaving our options open, and in the end, that comes back and bites us.
No, why should it? You benefit the conference, right?
You don't think they're like two girls and like, hey, we're dating the same guy? Let's get out of here.
I think it benefits the conference, right? If you pass on Memphis, let's say it's the ACC, they're going to add 4 teams. They add Tulane, South Florida, FAU. I'm trying to make up teams at this point. I don't think UConn's
East Carolina.
Go.
Just go.
East Carolina. Yeah, we'll take off UConn because I don't think that's going to happen. But are they going to pick FAU over Memphis because Memphis is talking to the Big 12? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are your options here, really? So I think Memphis is in a place.
What if both of them just are like, hey, they're flirting with the both of us. They're not committed to either one of us. We're passing.
It's a smart business decision to talk to both conferences. Like, why would you not? And it's not like you're putting all your chips in the basket. You're just saying, hey, we're listening. You know, we'll hear you out. Like, you are the commodity in this example, right? They're talking to you about joining the conference. You benefit them. Obviously, you joining them benefits yourself as well. It's a mutual agreement type of situation, but more so less. I mean, it's only a plus for you to join either conference, right? So I think it's smart if Memphis is talking to both sides and really just kind of playing the fence. I don't think they'll get left out by any means.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, conference realignment, it's the summertime. Conference realignment starts heating up every single time. Every time.
Yes, it does.
Last thing is, TJ, we're officially at time for the Liberty Bowl we're putting shells in the ground and making things happen. I think Sunday was the last game in her as she has
Yeah.
been for the last 50 years. Changes are coming. It's about time.
I'm gonna say it's gonna look real weird with that home side being just bone dry,
Just the
and awkwardly
lower
empty.
level. My parents and I were talking about that earlier today. My dad was like, "It's gonna be so weird with that because their seats are some of the only seats that aren't affected,
Yeah, the
and
only
they're
ones
not having
left.
to move." There's gonna be like them and 2,000 other people on that side. It's also gonna look ridiculous on TV. I mean, the year that they're finally moving it over, they're moving everybody off that side. Anyway, Teach, let's jump into this Fool's Gold. I really liked this beer.
I'll pull up our grading scale here. Oh, nice! I've already put it in.
I like this a lot. And if this was more easily accessible, I would probably get this. This is like a daily drinker, I would say.
Yeah, not to like sound like an alcoholic by any means, but yeah, absolutely.
Right. It's not
drinker.
like this is like an everyday beer. It's not like a special occasion or you got to be in some sort of situation, right? Like this is you just go to the fridge, you got a fridge full of Fool's Gold and you're just grabbing one. It's a classic American lager. 4.5%. I mean, this was very good. I love two of my favorite things: beer and Huey's.
Yeah, I'm gonna tweet Huey's right now. I need to know. This better be on tap.
If you can get it at the restaurant.
Yeah, because like it is. I mean, I live in East Memphis. I'm not driving out to Germantown just to buy beer. I just happen to be out there, so I stopped at
I mean,
Corks. 'cause
surely,
that's where
if nothing else,
he
they
told
have
us
it
to get
in the cans.
Yeah, that's where I was told I could get it. So I committed to it. And I went out there and I got the beer. I also stopped at Gracie Blue and got some Froyo as well because sometimes I got to be bad.
Gracie
And,
Blue, where is that?
It's right there,
is
right
that
across the street.
I know what you're talking
The
about.
little
Yeah.
Froyo place.
Yeah. Right over like the Wendy's. Wendy's is in the parking lot.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's a Wendy's over there.
Yeah. Timothy, I got to be honest with you, this is gonna be pretty high. I mean, I'm almost wanting to put this as like a 8-1.
I think that's fair. Does Huey's not have a Twitter account? What is this real? Oh, there it is.
They 100% have one. Well, they at least have it.
No, I spelled restaurant incorrectly. That's the problem.
That restaurant is a difficult word to spell.
Restaurant.
Yeah.
Spell the restaurant part.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. What?
What are your feelings on the label? I know we've talked about the beer. We haven't graded it by any means, but
I mean, I like it. It's a little bit different. It doesn't necessarily feel like a beer can. Does that make sense? I don't know why.
No, I'm not following that logic. I'll say this. It's an American lager. It's got the minor on the front, and I'm a kid. And when I go there, I either get like the chicken miners or the minor trio, the little sliders.
Dude, a minor trio with a Fool's Gold sound. I might when we end this, I may run up to Germantown Huey's.
Bonus points for putting the minor on there because it makes me think of the minor trio. It makes me think of the chicken miners, which they took off the menu.
Fool's Gold. Who's mining gold? There's a lot to like about this. I think it may be the color of the can that is kind of throwing me off.
Well, it's gold, man.
Label, I know, but it's not gold. It's yellowy. It's not bad. It's not my but I would put it at. Feels like a 6.9.
I have it as a 6.8 can.
What? Whoa! See, we're on the. You never rated the beer though.
Well, yeah, because we normally do can first, then the beer.
Well, I gave you a beer rating already.
Oh, you gave me a beer rating already? I missed that.
Yeah, 8.1.
8.1?
Yeah.
It's definitely, I think it's definitely in the 8s. I could easily crush many of these.
Also, I just noticed for the first time in history that you got us beers that are relatively fresh. These bad boys are barely a month old.
That
Brewed in
probably
April.
is the first time. There's
Brewed
been
in
many times where
April
we
of this year.
have drank last year's beer, and it's just when it's canned, it's fine, probably. This is really good. I like this more than I like Skydog, and I really like Skydog.
Skydog, what was our Skydog score? I think
I
this
gave
is I rated
Skydog
this higher than
an
Skydog.
8.4, and you gave
Did you?
Skydog an 8.1.
So I have
So
them
you think this
par
is
with
on
each
par
other.
with Skydog, and I don't want that to throw off your beer score. I always use it to throw off mine. That's the problem.
I would probably
Um,
have to have them both sitting here together to really break that tie.
I think this one's smoother. I'm going to say this is like an 8.4 for me. This is up there. I really like this beer. It's easy to drink on top of that.
It is. The
don't know- I
crushability
don't know
on this
that-
is sky high.
I don't know where that ranks as an all-time beer, but it's got to probably be up there. I could honestly, you could convince me this is an 8.5 if it were really
Wow.
cold on
Very,
draft.
like
I
on
could
a-
probably put this in 8.5.
Like in one of those old, just a classic frozen beer mug
Yeah, like the guy
with
has right there.
with some of your minor trio. Yeah, I think you would put this close to 9.
This is so hard to do
Some
backwards.
some cheese fries. That's up there.
I may have to call myself in and order, dude.
Huey's and beer. I mean, there's not a better combo for a Memphian.
That's so true.
Can we get a
shout out?
Can we get a Huey's station at like FedEx Forum or something? Wouldn't that
That'd be good.
something?
They greatly need help over there.
Wouldn't
The
that
food
be
is
something?
not great at the Forum. Hey, if we end this right now, we could probably make it out in under an hour for the first time in like ever. How about that?
Well, with that, TJ, we'll be back next week. Come with the Cold Beer Stay for hot takes. Peace. I think we were under an hour last week too. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode of Tigers Untapped, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Like and subscribe at Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports.